You spent 30 years saving for a Harley-Davidson Ultra Limited. You finally bought it at 58. 8 months later, it had 400 miles on the odometer, and most of those came from backing it out of the garage and creeping it back in. Because parking the thing felt like a wrestling match you never signed up for. You are not alone, and you did nothing wrong. 15 dream bikes. 15 honest reasons riders over 60 walked away. 15 machines they rode into instead. Starting off strong at number 15, Indian Challenger, 2020 through present. This bike looks like a rolling trophy case, and for good reason. Under that shark nose fairing sits a liquid-cooled Power Plus V-twin displacing 1,768 cubic centimeters, pumping out serious highway-eating torque. We hear about this one constantly, usually from a rider who waited until retirement to finally buy the flagship, rode it proudly for one glorious summer, and then quietly parked it once the novelty wore off and the work set in. So what is the actual problem? Weight. An operating weight of 840 pounds turns a simple downhill parking spot into a physics problem you did not study for. Try backing this beast up an incline from a dead stop, and your legs will file a formal complaint. It's stickered new at $25,999, a serious commitment for a serious-looking machine. Today it trades used for roughly $20,800, which sounds like a deal until you remember you still have to lift it off the side stand every single morning. The riders who walked away from this one did not walk far, and honestly, most of them found the switch surprisingly painless once they stopped measuring a bike's worth purely by its displacement number. They walked to a Royal Enfield Meteor 350, a featherweight 421 pounds, selling brand new for just $4,699. Proof that a smaller number on the spec sheet does not have to mean a smaller amount of joy on the road. Before you buy one, do this. Attempt to walk the new bike backward up a slight incline and see if your legs even put up a fight. Simple test, but the implications are bigger than they look, because a rider who fails that test on a showroom floor will fail it just as badly in their own driveway 6 months later, usually at the worst possible moment. Because our next entry is not about weight at all, it is about your clutch hand quietly staging a rebellion. Stalling out quietly at number 14, Kawasaki Vulcan 1700 Voyager 2009 through 2021. This full-dress cruiser was built to swallow interstates whole, powered by a liquid-cooled 52-degree V-twin at 1,700 cubic centimeters. It hauls a passenger, luggage, and a stereo system down the highway with genuine confidence, which is exactly why so many riders bought it as their forever bike. The problem shows up at the first red light of the day, and then at every single one after it. The clutch pull is stiff, mechanical, and completely unforgiving, and after 20 stoplights, your hand starts sending you strongly worded messages you cannot exactly ignore because you still need that hand to hold a coffee cup later. New, it ran $19,799, a fair price at the time for genuine interstate comfort. Used, you will find one for around $13,400, priced like a bargain and gripped like a punishment. The riders who moved on landed on a Kawasaki Vulcan S, selling new for a downright reasonable $7,349, built around a light pull slip and assist clutch that treats your hand like it actually matters. And honestly, that alone might be the single best upgrade on this entire list. Before buying, pull that new lever fully in and hold it for 1 full minute. If your forearm is still relaxed at the end, you found your bike, and if it is already burning after 30 seconds, you just saved yourself a very expensive lesson. And listen, if a stiff clutch lever can quietly wreck a riding season, you deserve to know about it before it happens to you, not after, which is exactly why we make these breakdowns. Hit subscribe right now so the next warning reaches you before the buyer's remorse does, because the next entry involves a bike that looks harmless and rides like a hip flexor exam. Wrestling weight at number 13, Harley Davidson Road Glide Limited 2015 through present. That massive frame-mounted shark nose fairing is iconic, unmistakable, and honestly gorgeous parked outside a diner, which is precisely why so many riders picked it over every other bike on the showroom floor without a second thought. Powering it is a twin-cooled Milwaukee 8 114 V-twin at 1,868 cubic centimeters. But haul all that fairing and chrome around, and you are pushing 932 pounds fully fueled and pulling this thing upright off its side. Stand without using momentum is a genuine core workout nobody asked for. The kind that leaves your lower back tight before you have even started the engine. New price was $32,499, right in line with Harley's other full-dress flagships. Used, expect around $26,900. Riders trading downland on a Honda Rebel 1100 DCT, a modern cruiser selling new for $10,149 that sheds 450 pounds and comes with an automatic dual-clutch transmission, meaning no clutch lever drama whatsoever, and no more talking yourself into a ride you already dread parking. The physical check here is simple. Pull the bike upright from its side, stand without momentum, and see if your core actually holds, since momentum on a real ride is not always something you get to plan for. But weight is one kind of problem. Our next bike creates an entirely different kind, the kind that lives in your neck. Craning necks. Painfully at number 12, Kawasaki Ninja ZX-14R 2012 through 2021. This is a genuine hyperbike, a liquid-cooled inline-4 at 1,441 cubic centimeters built to hunt triple digits without breaking a sweat. And for a rider who grew up worshiping the top speed wars of the 90s, buying one feels like closing a decades-long loop. The issue is the riding position. That aggressive sport crouch forces your neck back and up just to see the road ahead. And after an hour, your neck is filing its own separate grievance, completely independent from your wrists, which are already busy complaining about the reach. New, it ran $16,599, back when it was genuinely the fastest thing most dealerships had on the floor. Used, closer to $12,200. The upgrade path here is genuinely clever. A Kawasaki Ninja 1000 SX selling new for $13,699, with genuinely upright sport touring bars that keep your neck in a neutral position instead of a permanent craning contest, all while keeping most of that hyperbike character fully intact. Before buying, tuck into the riding position and look straight up toward the ceiling to check your comfortable range of motion. If your neck protests, immediately you have your answer, and no amount of horsepower is going to fix a sore neck at the end of a 2-hour ride. Speaking of comfort complaints, our next entry involves a clutch hand fatigue problem. So specific, it has its own nickname among mechanics. Gripping tight at number 11, Triumph Rocket 3R 2020 through present. This is, quite literally, the largest production motorcycle engine on Earth. A liquid-cooled inline-3 displacing a genuinely absurd 2,458 cubic centimeters, and bragging rights alone sell an awful lot of these at dealerships every single year. All that torque needs a heavy-duty clutch to handle it, and pulling that lever repeatedly through stop-and-go traffic turns arthritic fingers into a genuine liability by the end of a commute, right around the same time your patience runs out too. New price sat at $23,895, a price that mostly bought bragging rights and a genuinely massive engine. Used, roughly $17,900. Riders who traded this monster in went for a Triumph Bonneville Speedmaster, selling new at $14,595, which uses a torque assist clutch that cuts lever effort nearly in half without asking you to give up a single ounce of that unmistakable British character. The check before buying is simple. Pull the new lever with just 2 fingers 20 times in a row and see if your forearm even notices. If your hand stays loose, you are golden, and if it is not, No amount of engine bragging rights is worth what that clutch lever is doing to your fingers. But if lever effort can quietly end a riding career, imagine what a seat that is simply too tall can do. And our next bike takes that problem to a genuinely dramatic extreme. Balancing precariously at number 10, Ducati Multistrada FJR1300 2021 through present. The V4 𝐷𝐿𝐼𝐼 engine here is a masterpiece. 1,158 cubic centimeters of Italian engineering that most riders would happily brag about for years. And on paper, this bike does absolutely everything: pavement, gravel, and long-distance touring without complaint. The seat height, though, is where things go sideways. At 34.3 inches, loading heavy touring luggage onto the back of this bike becomes a genuine balancing act, especially when you're already up on your toes just to keep the thing steady, which is not exactly a confidence-inspiring position at a gas station full of onlookers. New, it started at $27,195. Used, you are looking at roughly $21,500. The riders who stepped down landed on a Triumph Tiger Sport 660, selling new for $9,695, with a low 32.8-inch seat and a slim step-over width that keeps both feet planted with confidence, which turns loading luggage back into a 2-second task instead of a small ordeal. Before buying, place both feet flat on the ground and rock the bike left to right to test your ankle stability. If it feels wobbly at a standstill, it will feel worse fully loaded, and a fully loaded touring bike is not a great place to discover that for the first time. Height problems are one thing, but our next bike creates a completely different kind of instability. The kind that shows up specifically on gravel. Tipping over slowly at number 9, BMW R1250 GS Adventure 2019 through 2023. This is the bike that basically invented the modern adventure touring category, powered by an air and liquid-cooled boxer twin at 1,254 cubic centimeters with BMW's clever shift cam technology, and every dealership brochure photo of it crossing a mountain pass makes it look effortless. The seat height, though, is where the dream starts to wobble, literally. At a towering 35.0 inches, stopping on uneven gravel or a cambered country road becomes genuinely unstable, and nobody wants their adventure bike tipping over at a stop sign in front of a line of impatient cars behind them. New, it launched at $20,345 base. Before you even started adding the panniers and crash bars everyone ends up wanting anyway. Used, expect around $16,500. Riders who traded down chose a Suzuki V-Strom 650, new for $9,194, with an accessible 32.7-inch seat that lets your legs drop nearly straight down at a stop, giving you the same adventurous spirit without the constant balancing act. The physical check is easy. Swing your right leg cleanly over the rear luggage rack and see if your hip flexors and hamstrings. Even complain, because if they complain on a stationary bike in a showroom, they will complain a lot louder on gravel. Seat height gets all the attention, but our next entry proves that even a low seat cannot save you from a genuinely stiff clutch. Curving spines. Quietly at number 8, Harley Davidson Breakout 117 2018 through present. Powered by a Milwaukee 8 117 V-twin at 1,923 cubic centimeters, this drag-style cruiser looks like it belongs on a magazine cover, all low stance and menacing fat rear tire. The problem is the riding position itself. Forward foot controls combined with low drag bars force your spine into an aggressive, curving C-shape that ages badly after about 20 minutes in the saddle, turning a scenic backroad ride into a countdown until the next rest stop. New, it's stickered at $22,499, a genuinely fair price for a bike that looks this good, sitting still. Used, roughly $19,200. Riders who moved on picked a Harley-Davidson Softail Standard new for $14,999, with mid-mount foot controls that restore a proper 90-degree knee bend instead of a forward stretch, letting you keep every bit of that Harley attitude without the daily backache. Before you commit, sit quietly on the new bike for a full 10 minutes and pay attention to whether your lower back starts to ache or stiffen, the same way it would on an actual 2-hour ride out to the coast. That is your answer, right there in real time. That posture problem is sneaky because it never shows up on the test ride around the parking lot. It only shows up 45 minutes into a ride you already committed to. Our next entry, though, is not about posture at all. It is about a heavy clutch lever making a genuine comeback appearance. Parking clumsily at number 7. Yamaha FJR1300 ES 2013 through 2021. For nearly 2 decades, this was the benchmark sport touring machine, running a liquid-cooled inline-4 at 1,298 cubic centimeters, and plenty of long-haul riders logged genuinely staggering mileage on it without a single complaint about the engine itself. The issue is straightforward weight combined with a high center of gravity. At 642 pounds wet, simple parking lot maneuvers start to feel genuinely clumsy, especially at near walking speed when the bike wants to lean the wrong way and your arms suddenly have to make up for what your legs used to handle with ease. New, it ran $18,299 back when it genuinely was the sport touring bike every other manufacturer was chasing. Used, closer to $12,500. Riders who traded it and chose a Yamaha Tracer 9 GT Plus new for $16,499, trimming 139 pounds while keeping factory hard bags for real touring capability, so the miles keep piling up without the parking lot, dread piling up right alongside them. Before buying, paddle the bike forward and backward using only your leg strength, no engine power. To confirm your thighs do not cramp halfway through, since real parking lots rarely give you a running start. If a bike that heavy can sneak up on you after 2 decades of loyal riding, imagine how fast it happens with a machine you have only owned for 2 years. Our next entry involves a lever pull, so demanding it earns its own dedicated section. Reaching forward painfully at number 6, Suzuki Hayabusa 2021 through present. The Hayabusa is basically motorcycling royalty, a liquid-cooled inline-4 at 1,340 cubic centimeters that redefined what production speed even meant. And owning one has been a bucket list milestone for an entire generation of riders. The issue is reach. That long 32-inch stretch forward to the clip-on handlebars puts genuinely painful pressure on aging wrist and neck vertebrae. And after 30 minutes, your wrists are quietly begging for mercy, while your neck joins the conversation shortly after. New, it runs $19,099, a price plenty of riders happily pay just to say the word Hayabusa out loud in their own garage. Used, roughly $14,800. Riders who stepped away landed on a Kawasaki Z900 RS, new for $12,149, delivering an upright handlebar layout that keeps your torso genuinely vertical instead of folded forward, borrowing plenty of retro style points along the way as a nice little bonus. Before buying, rest your hands on the grips for 5 full continuous minutes and check whether your fingers start going numb from the wrist angle, since a Hayabusa parked in the driveway is not the same as a Hayabusa doing 60 miles on a Saturday morning. If they tingle at a standstill, imagine an hour on the highway with nothing but wind and vibration to keep that feeling company. Speaking of hour-long rides, our next bike creates a problem that only shows up after your legs have been locked in one position for way too long. Flat-footing nervously. At number 5, BMW R1250 RT, 2019 through 2023. BMW basically owns the touring category, and this air and liquid-cooled boxer twin with shift cam technology at 1,254 cubic centimeters explains exactly why delivering the kind of smooth planted highway feel that made an entire generation loyal to the brand, sometimes for decades at a stretch. The problem is seat height sitting between 31.7 and 32.5 inches unladen, which makes stable flat footing genuinely difficult once your flexibility starts shrinking with age, especially the moment you are caught off guard at an unexpected stop. New, it started at $19,695 base, a genuine investment for a genuinely capable machine. Used, roughly $13,995. Riders who traded down chose a BMW F900 XR, new for $11,895, with a narrower chassis that reduces how far your legs need to arch at a stop, keeping most of that confident touring feel BMW riders have come to expect. Before buying, stop the bike on a gentle incline and check whether both heels can comfortably touch the pavement at the same time. If only one foot lands flat, that is a problem you will feel every single time you stop, at every light, every stop sign, and every gas station. But seat height is only half the battle. Our next bike solves that problem and then creates a brand new one that lives entirely in your knees. Squeezing knees awkwardly at number 4, Moto Guzzi California 1400 Custom, 2013 through 2020. This transverse 90-degree V-twin at 1,380 cubic centimeters gives you that unmistakable Italian cruiser rumble. The kind of exotic character riders spend years chasing at swap meets and dealer showrooms alike, but the whiteout cylinder heads are the real story here. At 701 pounds dry, those cylinders eat into your front leg space so badly that low-speed paddling turns into an actual game of twister, one where losing means an embarrassing tip-over in front of the whole parking lot. New, it retailed at $18,490, a genuinely premium price for a genuinely rare bike on American roads. And it was priced closer to a luxury item than a practical commuter from the very start. Used, you can find one for around $9,500, a genuinely steep drop that tells you everything about resale demand. Riders who moved on chose a Moto Guzzi V7 Stone, new for $9,190, a naked standard that cuts total weight all the way down to a simple 480 pounds, keeping the Italian rumble while finally letting your knees breathe. Before buying, confirm your shins clear the cylinder heads comfortably with both feet planted flat on the floorboards. Simple check, and it saves you from a very specific kind of bruise that shows up in exactly the same spot on every rider who skips it. That kind of leg-pinching problem seems dramatic until our next entry proves that even Japan's most luxurious touring machine can wear you down in a totally different place. Lifting heavily at number 3, Honda Gold Wing Tour 2018 through present. This is the undisputed king of touring luxury, running a liquid-cooled, horizontally opposed 6-cylinder engine at 1,833 cubic centimeters. Smooth enough to make a highway feel like a hallway, complete with airbag technology and a reverse gear that makes it feel more like a small car than a motorcycle. The problem, once again, is weight. Pushing an 847-pound touring rig around a garage floor strains aging lower backs and knees in a way that no amount of smooth engine character can fix, no matter how gently that flat 6 purrs while you are wrestling it into place. New, it runs $28,700, a legitimately serious purchase for a legitimately serious touring machine. Used, roughly $23,500. Riders who stepped down chose a Honda NC 750 XDCT, new for $9,499, with an automatic dual-clutch transmission that completely removes stop-and-go clutch fatigue from the equation, all while returning genuinely impressive fuel economy for daily errands. Before buying, sit on the new bike and pull it cleanly off its side. Stand with your eyes closed just to feel how much lower that center of gravity genuinely sits. A difference plenty of longtime Goldwing owners describe as immediately obvious the moment they try it. Weight has been the villain of this list more than once, but our next entry takes it to a level that brought us full circle to the very bike that started this whole conversation. Backing down honestly at number 2, Harley-Davidson Ultra Limited, 2020 through present. Here is our opening story, brought full circle. This full-dress touring flagship runs an air and twin-cooled Milwaukee 8 114 V-twin at 1,868 cubic centimeters, loaded with a premium stereo, heated seats, and every creature comfort a decades-long dream could ask for. And it genuinely sounds and rides like a dream fulfilled right up until you have to park it. At 917 pounds in running order, handling this bike through tight, low-speed turns and sloped parking spots is a legitimately stressful physical workout. The exact kind that turns a joyful Sunday ride into a dreaded chore and eventually into 400 quiet miles over 8 long months. New, it's stickered at $32,499, a number that felt entirely justified after 3 decades of saving. Used, roughly $27,999. Riders who traded down chose a Harley-Davidson Heritage Classic, selling used for $17,500, shedding 187 pounds while keeping every ounce of that traditional cruiser look intact, so the dream survives, it just finally fits the rider living it. Before buying, stand beside the Heritage and perform a slow rolling walk backward to make sure your boots hold full traction without slipping out from under you. The exact same motion that gave the original owner of that Ultra Limited such a hard time in the first place. If you have made it this far, you already know these disappointments are not really about weakness, they are about fit. And getting fit right is the difference between riding for another 20 years or parking the dream in the garage for good. Drop a like on this video if even one of these 15 bikes described your exact situation, because it genuinely helps other riders your age find this list before they spend $30,000 learning it the hard way. If the flagship couldn't escape its own reputation, you can probably guess what's waiting at number 1, the bike so many riders spent their entire working lives dreaming about. Letting go. Finally at number 1, Indian Roadmaster, 2015 through present. This is the bike so many riders spent decades imagining themselves on. A full-dress touring machine running an air-cooled Thunderstroke 116 V-twin at 1,890 cubic centimeters, loaded with every touring feature you could possibly want, right down to a premium audio system built to drown out the wind at highway speed. The problem, and by now, you have probably guessed it, is weight. At 895 pounds empty, simply lifting this machine off its side, stand demands serious hip and knee exertion. Twice a day, every single day you ride it, which quietly turns a leisure activity into a small daily chore nobody signed up for. New, it retailed at $32,999, arguably the most fully loaded touring machine on this entire list. Used, roughly $24,000, a genuinely painful depreciation curve for a bike this loaded. Riders who finally admitted the dream needed adjusting chose an Indian Super Chief Limited, new for $21,499. A stripped-down frame that removes 144 pounds of top-heavy touring fairing while keeping that unmistakable Indian presence. Proof that the badge on the tank matters more than the ounces on the scale. Before buying, push the bike smoothly backward into a parking space and pay close attention to whether your knees pinch or protest under the strain. A small test that tells you more about long-term comfort than any spec sheet ever could. 15 dream bikes, 15 honest reasons riders over 60 walked away without a single ounce of shame attached to any of them, because every single person on this list saved, planned, and finally bought the bike they always wanted. The disappointment was never about desire, it was about a body that simply asks for different things at 60 than it did at 30. And there is nothing embarrassing about listening to it. If any part of this list hit uncomfortably close to home, that is not a signal to quit riding, it is a signal to adjust the bike, not the rider. And every single replacement on this list proves that adjustment does not mean giving up the dream. It just means finding the version of it that actually fits your knees, your wrists, and your Sunday mornings. Click on the next video on your screen right now, because we go even deeper into exactly how to test ride smarter before you spend a single dollar, and how to spot these problems on the showroom floor before they ever reach your garage.